Introduction to Mythical Giants. Traveling back and forth between two great worlds, using the body of the innate human race, stirring up the ripples of time and space, illuminating all kinds of sentient beings, and traversing countless realms of the mortal world. Do what you want to do, kill those who should be killed, and enjoy the joy of collecting while creating an imagined life. Welcome to Bookmark. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The author is working hard to save the manuscript, and the babies they like will be collected and brought home first. We look forward to the future together. Chapter 1. Opening the Shuttle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How long does it take to change one's life? 3 months ago, Yuanxin was still a mediocre blue-collar laborer, working tirelessly every day with a monthly salary of less than 5,000 yuan, wandering aimlessly like a dog in a big city like Magic City, unable to find direction and see the future. 3 months later, he had already carried a huge sum of money and a fortune of 1 billion. The strangeness of fate is nothing more than this. Because he's cheating. I don't know where the favor came from. After work that day, exhausted Yuanxin bought a bottle of ergotu and went back to the narrow and dark basement of less than 15 square meters. After drinking, he fell asleep and woke up with a cheat. A very basic personal attribute panel. With it, Yuanxin completed an epic salted fish turnaround in just 3 months. The functions of the property panel are particularly simple. The main task is to collect skills and improve them. Collect knowledge from relevant information and solidify it into skills. The collected skills, through repeated practice, can be upgraded without bottlenecks or obstacles until the potential limit of the skill is reached. Another is the traversal function. This feature needs to be actively activated by Yuanxin. It's been 3 months and he hasn't activated it yet. In addition, there are 25 skill points, which can be considered as a beginner gift package. This is consistent with his age. The explanation of skill points in the attribute panel is also 1 year old. That is to say, the 25 skill points are exactly what Yuanxin accumulated every year at the age of 25. The panel counts for him. Skill points are used to directly improve skill levels, with ordinary level skills gradually increasing. A normal level 0 skill requires 1 skill point to be improved by 1 level, while a level 10 skill requires 1 skill point to be improved by 1 level. But each level is limited to ordinary skills, and the skill points required to upgrade to higher skills vary according to the level of the skills. At that time, after careful consideration, Yuanxin realized that the top priority was to make money and to have a strong body. So we first extracted the skill of stock trading from books, online videos, and documents, and entrusted the rapid money-making business to the vast number of leaks in the stock market. Then, using the same method, we extracted several skills to enhance our physical fitness, and finally chose to focus on enhancing the 5 animal play. He first spent 2 months self-learning and tried to improve the level of these 2 skills as much as possible. By the 3rd month, I realized that it was becoming increasingly difficult to improve my skills through self-directed learning, so I used skill points to elevate these 2 skills to the highest level. With full-level stock trading skills, Yuanxin has carved out 1 billion yuan worth from the stock market. The full-level 5 animal play gave him the ultimate physical strength. Currently, it is as follows. Name. Yuanxin, race. Ordinary human race, age. 25, realm. Human limit, skills. Wuqingxi, 5/5, stock trading, 5/5, cooking skills, 2/5, 60% driving, 2/5, 51%, etc. Skills unrelated to the plot will be omitted thereafter. Skill point. 23, 1 year old and 1 point, time and space gate, unopened. Yuanxin invested a total of 2 skill points into the skills of 5 animal plays and stock trading, both of which belong to the category of ordinary skills, or in other words, the skills he extracted have so far been in the category of ordinary skills. He spent 2 months self-learning and raised both skills to level 4 before using the skill points. After reaching level 4, it becomes increasingly difficult to improve these two skills, with a daily progress of only 5%. By practicing and improving on their own, they reached their peak in 20 days. He held back for 2 months and didn't want to wait any longer. As for other skills, don't worry. The skill points are precious, so he doesn't plan to spend them recklessly for now. With money, it's natural to buy a house, a car, and enjoy it. The great demons are full of lights and wine. As long as they have money, the world is full of joy. Yuanxin spent over 1 billion yuan to buy a luxurious mansion that he couldn't even imagine 3 months ago, and moved in with his bag. I bought a luxury car with a low-key and luxurious appearance that is not too flashy, costing several million yuan. Another round of playful behavior, making one look like a dog. For the next half-month, I wandered around various so-called high-end places, experiencing the joy of spending money like flowing water. Every day, we live a strange and fantastical life, full of sound and excitement. Until that day, he found that his waist was a bit numb, so he woke up like a dream. We can't continue like this anymore. Yuanxin clenched his fist and said, I'm only 25, and at a young age, I'm sinking. It's a bit lacking in ambition. He stared at the unopened time and space door on the attribute panel with a struggling expression. I have full-level stock trading skills, and I can see all the changes of any stock in the next 3 days, even after adding various variables. I can't be short of money. After spending 1 billion, I can still cut 10 billion, after cutting domestic, I will go abroad. Money is no longer my pursuit. Good wine makes people savor, beautiful women make people linger, but my waist and liver can't hold on anymore. It's only been half a month, and my body is at its limit. My waist is numb, that's not good. I need to have higher aspirations. He stared at the unopened space-time door and said, I just don't know what path is across from the space-time door. I can't hold on to something unknown. As he pondered, Yuanxin slowly let out his breath and said, at first glance, life is not what I want. The current situation is that even with money, it is difficult to struggle here. So the unknown and mysterious should be what I am pursuing. With a determined mind, Yuanxin silently recited Open the Gate of Time and Space. Suddenly, on the personal panel, the 3 words, Time and Space Gate, shone brightly, and some information flooded into Yuanxin's mind. Bidirectional time-space gate opened Rule 1. Lock the host spatio-temporal point Rule 2. You can carry any item that does not exceed the host's weight during shuttle travel Rule 3. The temporal and spatial ripples caused by shuttle will bring some new elements to the host's world Rule 4. After completing each shuttle, find the book garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com Time and Space Gatekeeper to cool down for 10 days, waiting for the time and space ripples caused by the connection to calm down. After cooling down, proceed to the next shuttle Rule 5. Non-mandatory shuttle, can shuttle freely anytime and anywhere after cooling is completed, warning. No specific shuttle protection measures are in place. Please prepare the host before the first shuttle. 5 rules, 1 warning. Yuanxin stared intently, flipping through the system prompts word by word several times. The rules for cooling time, non-mandatory shuttle, and carrying items are clear at a glance. Without further ado, Yuanxin chewed on the 2 rules of locking the host spatio-temporal points and creating new elements through time and space ripples caused by shuttle for a while. After carefully experiencing the concept of locking in the host's temporal and spatial points, Yuanxin realized it in his heart. Generally speaking, if Yuanxin starts the shuttle at this time, then when he returns, the time and location here will still be at this time, and the time and location will remain the same. On the other hand, the next time he shuttles over, the time and place there will also be the same place as the moment he shuttles back. So the time and space points are locked onto the host, which is Yuanxin. As for the time and space ripples caused by shuttle, injecting new elements into Yuanxin's world, Yuanxin has not figured out a definite answer. Roughly, with every shuttle, the the world on Jiangshan's side undergoes some changes. As for what new elements bring about change, I don't know. I need to shuttle back and forth once, and it will only be clear when it manifests. Then comes the warning. Be prepared for the first shuttle because there are no protective measures. Focusing on the first time, that is to say, if there are problems or even failures in the first time, there is naturally no future to speak of. If it is safe for the first time, then there is no need to say much afterwards. Chapter 2. Misfortune Inducing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Whether it's due to warnings from the attribute panel or the instinctive caution when facing the unknown, Jiangshan needs to be well prepared before crossing. Safety comes first. Although life may seem boring at first glance, with endless money and endless fun, it's not worth recklessly risking it. Shuttle through time and space, explore the unknown, but if the risk is too great, caution is also appropriate. Firstly, it is protective equipment. Jiangshan searched online for a while and locked in a popular military anchor, then contacted him. After some communication and inquiry, Jiang Shanhua bought 2 sets of soft bulletproof vests made of polymer materials and a bulletproof helmet from this anchor at a high price. I also ordered an 8-sided Han sword made of high-strength alloy material, a dog-leg knife, a universal military knife, and a military crossbow. Then he developed a set of outdoor specialty items, as well as special drugs for treating injuries, poisoning, colds, and fever. Afterwards, I went out and bought 50 pounds of gold at the bank. Thinking about gold, it seems to work wherever you go, so you can't help but prepare some. After finishing all of this, Jiang Shan returned to his villa and mansion on the Bund, waiting quietly for the express delivery to come to his door. During this period, Jiang Shan extracted the skill of wild survival from the information circulating on the internet, and gritted his teeth to spend 5 skill points, elevating it to the highest level. One by one, the ordered items arrived one by one. We have tested the quality one by one and all meet the requirements of Jiangshan. Jiangshan went out again, bought a grinder, and returned to sharpen the 8-faced Han sword with his own hands. On the 3rd day, all the items he ordered arrived. Jiangshan went out for a good meal and drank some wine, come back and put on a bulletproof helmet, a bulletproof vest, and a camouflage suit. Fill the kettle and hang it on your waist. Put medicine, gold, and other items on your backpack. Then he inserted his dog-leg knife, wielded an 8-sided sword, and held a military crossbow in his hand. Jiangshan took a deep breath and silently recited, "Shuttle." I only felt the sky and earth spinning for a moment, as if infinite colors were dazzling my eyes. Jiangshan was dizzy, and suddenly heard a noisy shout in his ear. Then, he felt like someone had hit his shoulder with a hammer, half of his body was numb, and he had fallen to the sky. He struggled to roll over, feeling dizzy and wanting to get up, but 2 figures rushed towards him like tigers. They grabbed his arm left and right, and twisted him hard from behind. Amidst the intense pain in his joints, Jiangshan completely regained his senses. At the entrance, the sky is high and the clouds are red, and the sunset is dusk. It is a yellow road and a small forest along the roadside. Under a big tree on the roadside, several strong and resolute men stared at Jiangshan with sharp and murderous eyes, one of whom was still bowing. Next to them stood trembling and shaky a few yellow-skinned, ragged people strung by ropes, all of whom were timid and trembling. Firmly holding onto Jiangshan's 2 arms and tying his back, there were also 2 strong men dressed in resolute armor. Their strength is incredible, and Jiangshan's so-called ultimate strength of the human body is in their hands, unable to struggle at all. In just this moment, the cool air had rushed from Jiangshan's soles to the heavenly spirit cover. Done. Jiangshan let out a deep sigh, his heart already filled with the desire to pull out the cold. His heart rapidly turned, pondering how to face the current situation. Jiangshan is being held and unable to move. The few strong men in the distance who looked like ancient soldiers strode over. The leader had a square face, with a dirty and thick tangled beard. His mouth was open and closed, and he looked at Yuanxin while saying, "He's an ordinary person. It's a waste of joy. Boss, he may be a useless aristocrat of Kunwu who has not awakened his bloodline." The man on the left side of Yuanxin, who was holding him, said in a muffled voice, "The clothes he was wearing were unprecedented, but the material was strange, and he was not a member of the wild or the Chinese people." The man on the other side forcefully took off Yuanxin's helmet and waited, saying, "He suddenly appeared. He must have used the item that moves the universe. Only nobles can possess such a treasure." The bearded man nodded but said, "Unfortunately, Kunwu Kingdom has been destroyed, and the nobles of Kunwu Kingdom are penniless. Fortunately, these things on him are quite strange. If we pull them off, we'll share a share," said Big Beard. "When we reach Kunwu's wilderness, we'll sell them as slaves and earn a few more money." Although the accents of these people's conversations were strange, Yuanxin could barely understand them. Knowing that they were going to take him to a place called Kunwu Wilderness and sell him as a slave. Although there is currently no concern for his life, Yuanxin cannot accept being caught and sold as slaves as soon as he crosses the border. We must find a way out of danger. Suddenly, his shoulder hurt, and a golden-colored arrow was pulled out from his shoulder. This was the culprit who seemed to have been punched in his shoulder just now. As soon as he appeared, he shot an arrow. Even wearing 2 layers of bulletproof vests, he was pierced by an arrow, which plunged deeply into Yuanxin's shoulder. Previously numb and unresponsive, Yuanxin was pulled out, causing him to contort his face and sweat profusely in pain. These few people don't care how painful Yuanxin is. They pressed down on Yuanxin with all their hands and feet, 3 times dividing him by 5, and then pulled him out completely. They went to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com and didn't even leave his underwear for him. Suppressing the pain, Yuanxin never expected that he would also have a day walking birds in broad daylight. "My luck is really bad, is it because I got a cheat that depleted my luck?" Yuanxin remained silent, being pushed and watched as they picked up the rope and tried to string him with those yellow-skinned people. However, he was secretly thinking in his heart, "But the problem is not too big. As long as I temporarily save my life, there is always a way to think about it. At the worst, wait for 10 days, the time and space gate will cool down, and I can also escape." As he was pondering, a soldier saw Yuanxin procrastinating and shook off his whip, causing Yuanxin to scream and fall to the ground. Yuanxin took a cold breath, glanced at the soldier, quickly lowered his head, and slowly got up. "Hide the resentment in your eyes deeply." However, Yuanxin's anger was accurately captured by this soldier at a glance. With a resounding sound, the soldier untied the golden broadsword hanging from his waist and said, "Boss, I don't like his gaze. I want to kill him." As he spoke, he raised his broadsword and struck down Yuanxin's forehead. Yuanxin's heart stopped beating and was now filled with ashes. At this moment, an invisible shadow rushed towards Xieli and instantly hit the soldier who raised his sword to kill Yuanxin. In front of Yuanxin, the soldier exploded like a ripe tomato, splashing red, white and green all over the place. Yuanxin froze for a moment, blood-colored flesh and mud sliding down his face, his expression reigniting, his heart pounded wildly, filled with immense joy and surprise. His eyes looked around, but he couldn't catch what had happened. It was as if there was a wind blowing, with a few muffled drum-like explosions, and then the ground was covered in meat and mud. A middle-aged man with bare arms and chest, wrapped only in a piece of linen, appeared in front of Yuanxin. Chapter 3. Yuanxin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This man is as tall as Yuanxin, almost 1.88 meters tall, but his physique is at least twice that of Yuanxin. Sturdy and extremely strong. The exposed chest is cast in copper and iron, and the muscular arms are even thicker than the extreme thighs of Yuanxin. A bronze face with a long face, thick eyebrows, and bright and lively eyes. He stood in front of Yuanxin with his hair scattered, looked up and down at him, nodded, and pulled the thick rope that bound Yuanxin's hands. With another thrust, he picked up a golden broadsword and landed it in his hand. With just a flick, the few people who were strung together by ropes were also freed from their shackles, and then said in a low voice, "Let's run for our own way of life." Those people suddenly dispersed and disappeared into the woods without a trace. Yuanxin barely found the camouflage suit that had been peeled off before in the mud, put it on whole, and picked up the backpacks that the soldiers had not yet opened. After thinking for a moment, he also picked up the 8-faced Han sword. Then he ran wildly and chased after the long-faced man with only his back left. After all, he has the ultimate physique of the human body, although it seems insignificant here. The injury on the shoulder is not too serious, it is not critical, and the wound is not deep. I only suffered skin injuries from eating that whip before. Running without delay. At the beginning of his journey, Yuanxin encountered a crisis of life and death, and at this moment, his mind was filled with a paste. Instinctively, following a man with a long face may be the best choice. The man with a long face seemed to be walking slowly, but Yuanxin exerted all his strength and ran wildly, only barely keeping up. Passing through a small forest and flipping over a small hill, Yuanxin covered his shoulder injury and gasped for breath. The man with a long face stopped behind the hill. He has an extra half-year-old child by his side. At this moment, the man with a long face was holding the kettle that belonged to Yuanxin that he had picked up at an unknown time. He forcefully pulled out the stopper and handed it to the half-aged child. The half-aged child took a few gulps of cold water and handed the kettle to the man with a long face, gesturing for him to take a sip as well. The long-faced man showed a smile. Yuanxin approaches. "Kid." The long-faced man took a sip of water, carefully covered the lid, and stuffed the kettle into the arms of the half-grown child, but said to Yuanxin, "You shouldn't come with me." Yuanxin stopped at once. He hesitated for a moment, organized his language, and said, "You saved me." The man with a long face shook his head and said, "I heard the soldiers of Qingtang say you are a noble of Kunwu Kingdom, and that's why I took action to save you. Kunwu Kingdom fought for the king and was just destroyed by Qingtang. As a guard of the king, I am powerless to do anything about this. Now that I have met the nobles of Kunwu Kingdom, I cannot turn a blind eye." Then he said, "Kunwu is destroyed, and the soldiers of Qingtang are capturing Kunwu people everywhere, demoting them to slaves. If I were you, I would hide in the deep mountains and wait until the situation in the world stabilizes before coming out. Otherwise, even if you are a nobleman, there will be no good ending." These few sentences reveal a lot of information. A man named Qingtang, his army destroyed Kunwu and planned to capture and demote all the people of Kunwu to slavery. Kunwu Kingdom is loyal to the king, referred to by the long-faced man, who is the attendant of that king, but the current situation of that great king may not be very good, to the extent that nothing can be done in the event of the downfall of Kunwu in Qingtang. Yuanxin was chewing on the information contained in these words as the man with a long face picked up the half-grown child and walked away. "There are many hunting dogs behind me. If you follow me, you will die when the hunting dogs catch up." Yuanxin was stunned as he watched the long-faced man quickly carry the child away. He couldn't help but shout, "What's your name?" "Yuanxin." After Yuanxin left with his child, Yuanxin did not stay on the hill for a long time. He quickly left and ran along the small forest for more than 10 miles in one breath, stopping in a small stream near a big mountain. In the shallow pool of the mountain stream, Yuanxin took a bath, washed away the blood stains all over his body, and cleaned the wound on his shoulder. Then he opened his backpack, took out the medicine prepared inside, sprayed white medicine first, applied medicine powder, and wrapped it properly. After taking a long breath, he sat on the stone by the edge of the pool, silently pondering. "This time, I'm really unlucky." As soon as he came over, before his eyes could open, he was shot an arrow and caught without any resistance. He stripped himself naked and was about to be sold as a slave. He thought his eyes were hidden, but the soldier caught him and wanted to kill him on the spot. At that moment, his mind was in chaos. Even hanging the wall together can lead to death. Fortunately, the man with a long face intervened and saved his life. This series of actions has caused Yuanxin's thinking to be chaotic, and he has only now begun to think critically. Yuanxin did not regret opening the time travel journey. At the moment he decided to open the time and space gate, he had already prepared himself mentally. Yuanxin is not someone who is good at regret. So now, what should we do? Obviously, this world is not peaceful and not at all secure. War and chaos lead to the destruction of the country and its people. And demote all the people of a country to slaves. More importantly, those soldiers, as well as the long-faced man, all demonstrated unimaginable power. Even those soldiers are stronger than Yuanxin. As for the long-faced man, looking for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com is simply a fantasy. When he started killing, Yuanxin's eyes couldn't even capture his shadow. How fast is that? With a single blow, it explodes and crushes people into meat paste. The fist of a man with a long face is like that of a road roller. This is also the reason why Yuanxin instinctively wanted to keep up with the long-faced man before. A sense of security. But after listening to Yuanxin, the man with a long face, Yuanxin immediately knew that following him might be even more dangerous. The man with a long face, as the guard of the king he spoke of, is now on the run for his life, and that half-grown child. Maybe it's the center of a vortex. Follow him, and you will definitely get caught up in this huge vortex and be crushed into powder. He's just a guest from a different world, is it a loss to just get involved? It's not about not being grateful for Yuanxin's life-saving kindness, but being powerless. So, the top priority is to find a safe place to hide. Kunwu Kingdom is experiencing a war of annihilation, and the army of Qingtang captured slaves, causing chaos throughout the country. But I don't know the geography here and the current situation, I don't know which direction is safe or which direction is dangerous. I'm afraid the only way is to hide in the deep mountains, as Yuanxin said. But deep in the mountains, it may not be safe either. Yuanxin stood up and looked up. Following the creek where this shallow pond is located, you will find high mountains and dense forests. Vaguely, one can hear the terrifying roar of beasts. Even the roar of tigers is not as chilling as this. After resting for a moment, Yuanxin dug out a few crabs in the crevice of the shallow pool and ate them raw to fill his stomach. Then, carrying a backpack and a long sword, he crawled into the bushes by the creek. It is reported that there is no trace of the Soso. Chapter 4. Fear and Trepidation. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. The mountains and forests at night are just two words, terrifying. On a solitary tree, Yuanxin curled up in a vine hammock hidden among the dense branches and leaves, feeling mentally tense. It's been almost 3 hours since we entered the mountain. Before the night completely enveloped the mountains and forests, Yuanxin found this solitary tree on the sunny side of a hillside. This tree is very large, with a canopy that covers half of the mountain slope. Such a large tree prevents other trees, flowers, and plants from receiving sunlight, making the stronger and gradually becoming a solitary tree. One advantage of choosing such a place to rest is that it has a wide view, which can largely avoid being attacked. He found vines nearby, woven them into a hammock, and temporarily rested among the dense branches and leaves of the tree crown. The canopy is also a vast ecosystem. Mosquitoes and birds inhabit, and poisonous snakes and insects cannot be underestimated. Fortunately, I have prepared insect repellent in my backpack, otherwise I won't be able to survive. As the night deepened, Yuanxin was about to fall asleep. Suddenly, there was the sound of the wind blowing in the night sky. A huge black shadow flew past the tree crown at the speed of striding sound. The suffocating smell made the insects dare not cry. Yuanxin was instantly awakened, and at that moment, his heart seemed to be grabbed by someone, almost stopping beating. Fortunately, the black shadow, which was about the size of a tree crown, did not stop and disappeared in an instant, rushing into the sky without a trace. Yuanxin finally managed to catch his breath. But soon after, before Yuanxin could calm down, another fierce beast came from the other side of the mountain slope, walking leisurely under the tree. Yuanxin held his breath and dared not move. The fierce beast passing under the tree, with an unexpected size, brushed past the dark shadows in the night sky just now, but the dangerous aura it revealed as it passed by was not inferior. Yuanxin was afraid that if he breathed too heavily, he would attract fierce beasts to attack and bury himself in the animal's belly. I dare not even glance at that fierce beast. So I don't know what this fierce beast really looks like. In just half an hour, birds and beasts that could easily kill Yuanxin passed by here, and Yuanxin couldn't help but wonder if he was right or wrong in choosing this place. Fortunately, there is no danger. Like this, keep your spirit tense until late at night. A few hours later, no more ferocious birds or beasts passed by, and Yuanxin slowly let go of his tense heart. He adjusted his state according to the breathing method of the 5-animal play, while letting out a sigh of relief. In a daze, a ray of sunlight shone through the gaps between the branches and leaves on Yuanxin's face, and he suddenly woke up. It's dawn. Yuanxin climbed up to the top of the tree crown, looked around, and saw the vibrant mountains and forests under the crimson sun. The terrifying atmosphere of last night has completely disappeared. The sky is boundless, with only a few birds flying, the mountains and forests are lush, and at first glance, I see a herd of deer. Surprisingly, it was a peaceful scene. Yuanxin let out a breath, expanded his chest, and breathed in the morning air in the mountains. After a while, carrying his backpack and sword, he came down the tree. I can't stay in this place anymore. We need to find a safer and more reliable place. Find a few simple traps set near the bushes in front of the tree last night, and get a wild chicken and a rabbit. Then I went to the creek on the other side of the mountain slope to wash and peel it clean, and then searched for a leeward spot. I dug into wood to start a fire and roasted rabbits and wild chickens to fill my stomach. After finishing the meal, I changed the wound on my shoulder with gauze and powder, and bandaged it again. After taking a short rest, he climbed up the mountain slope, followed the ridge of the mountain, and by noon, arrived at a cliff in a barren mountain. The cliff is about 30 meters high, with a steep large stone beside it. The upper half of the stone intersects with the cliff, forming an arch hole that can accommodate one person to enter and exit. Yuanxin climbed up a large stone and struggled into the arch, only to find that it was also spacious inside. Not only spacious, but also with spring water. Yuanxin's heart turned to consider this place as a temporary resting place. After experiencing the terror of last night, Yuanxin couldn't be sure that the cave was really as safe as he had imagined. He spent some time tidying up the cave, built a table with stones as a bed, a small stove was set up under a crack that led directly to the outside next to the spring water. Then he went in and out, up and down, with full level of field survival skills, found some herbs, smoked the cave inside and outside, and expelled the damp insects inside the cave. Cut a bundle of soft hay and make the bed. Finally, several withered trees were cut down and moved back to the cave as firewood storage. After a few attempts, it was almost dark again. Yuanxin took advantage of the fact that the sky was not completely dark and went to a nearby mountain stream to get some mountain crabs to fill his stomach. Then he hurriedly returned to the cave. I changed the medicine for the wound before resting. This night, there was too much stability. The area where the cave is located is mainly rocky and barren, with few trees and mostly sparse and low shrubs. Compared to the vast mountains and forests in the distance, this area is not attractive to large organisms. Without large organisms, it would naturally not attract other large organisms, which is relatively safe. Yuanxin felt a little relieved, and in the following 2 days, his shoulder injury healed greatly. He explored the surrounding area with the cave as the center. To the south and east of the cliff where the cave is located, there are vast mountains and forests, stretching and undulating endlessly. Along the way to the west, there are scattered rocks and barren mountains. At the end of the rocky and barren mountain lies an abyss that cannot be seen to the end. The abyss is as wide as 300 meters, and the opposite side is also a barren mountain with scattered rocks. Under the abyss, clouds and mist shrouded, and nothing was visible. To the east, it is the direction in which Yuanxin entered the mountain before. In fact, Yuanxin was quite curious at this moment. He traveled to this world, not to do a survival program in the wilderness. Especially after witnessing Yuanxin's superhuman strength, he was even less willing to waste time in the mountains. However, now there is a great crisis outside the mountain. Looking for the book garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com, Cheng Tang's army is hunting slaves everywhere. With his body running out, half of the slave lives, and half naturally dies. I really don't know how long it will take for Cheng Tang to catch slaves. He can't wait to touch this world. Due to his busy schedule, with his injuries greatly improving, Yuanxin not only prepared necessary food, but also spent the rest of his time practicing martial arts. Initially, in order to strengthen his body, he collected skills. In addition to playing with the 5 birds, there were several other skills, including combat skills such as Tai Chi. He planned to pick them up and practice them well. Although I know that even if I practice Tai Chi to level 5, it is not a hair in this world, but practicing it is always better than not practicing it. When facing danger, there is no difference in strength. That afternoon, after practicing Tai Chi, Yuanxin saw on the skill panel that the level of Tai Chi had been upgraded to level 3. Yuanxin was happy for a moment and froze a rabbit as a celebration. In this barren mountain and rocky thicket, there are not many others, but there are quite a few rabbits. It is the main source of food for Yuanxin these days. The salt eyes brought over through time travel don't seem to be enough anymore, and Yuanxin is a bit troubled. After finishing the rabbit, while the sun was still not completely setting, I went to the creek to do some washing and dressing for the wound, and then returned to the cave to rest. I dare not go out for waves at night, that's seeking death. Late at night, Yuanxin was awakened by the sudden muffled sound of drums and shouts of killing. He sat up suddenly, flipped over and jumped off the stone bed, touching the entrance of the cave, and poked his head to look around. In the distance, near the border between the forest and the barren mountains, under the faint moonlight, several shadows like light smoke flickered and bounced between the rocks, flying and colliding. The thunderous explosions were dense like rain hitting banana trees. Wherever they passed, dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of tons of large stones were shattered by the explosion. Chapter 5. One Life for One Life. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Yuanxin immediately held his breath. Watching the battle scene that seemed to be a series of rounds of shelling, Yuanxin's heart beat like a drum. So strong. Those warring individuals, each one of whom is undoubtedly Superman. Every move and gesture has almost the power to shake the mountain. Even at a distance of several kilometers, slight vibrations are transmitted along the mountain. Their speed is incredible, their figures crisscrossing like lightning. If it weren't for the distance and the moonlight and the barren mountains complementing each other, Yuanxin felt that his eyes might not be able to capture their shadows. Then I heard a thunderous roar. Yuanxin, you surrender and I beg for mercy from Cheng Tang, spare your life. Yuanxin. Yuanxin's heart skipped a beat and his eyes widened instantly. The two warring sides, one of whom is actually Yuanxin, who has been away for a few days. Fantasy. Yuanxin roared angrily, how do you traitors know that I am faithful? I was born a vassal of the king, and death is the king's battle soul. The traitor's demonic words will not deceive me. I heard a wild laugh and said, I saw your loyalty and righteousness, so I gave you a way to live. If you don't want it, then come and die. Someone shouted, just a mere guard, do you really consider yourself a person? Hand over Huangyu and die obediently. The sound was like thunder, blasting out the night birds in shock. Yuanxin listened in his ear, feeling momentarily hesitant. But the person had already emerged from the cave, slid down the boulder, and lurked towards the battlefield under cover. Stopping for 100 meters, I saw a thin figure sneaking over from the nearby rocks. Yuanxin's heart turned and he dodged behind a large stone. When the thin figure touched him, he pulled him to the front. The thin and small figure reacted extremely quickly, with a backhand elbow pressing into the middle gate of Yuanxin. Yuanxin was startled and stepped back to avoid it. He quickly whispered, "It's me, you should have seen me 4 days ago, under the mountain hill." It was the half-grown child back then. As soon as he heard this, he stopped moving and stared at Yuanxin with burning eyes, but remained silent for a moment. Yuanxin said, "Follow me." Yuanxin pulled him, but he didn't resist, so the two of them quickly walked away from the place of battle under the cover of random stones. But perhaps those people have 2 sharp eyes, and someone has noticed them. There. Shan Yan, go catch them, we'll stop Yuanxin. Yuanxin became anxious and roared incessantly. With lightning strikes, he repelled several besieged people and dodged to cut off the rocks. The mountains and rocks were unable to resist, so we had to fight alongside him. Suddenly, the other few people gathered around again. "So you pulled and tugged at me," and although Yuanxin tried his best to barely stop them, the battlefield was still slowly moving towards the direction where Yuanxin and the half-young man were fleeing. Yuanxin knew that he had been exposed, so he no longer hid. Instead, he picked up a half-grown boy and ran wildly along the smoothest road. These days, he had a clear understanding of the nearby roads and was familiar with them early on. Watching Yuanxin and the half-grown boy quickly leave, the few people besieging Yuanxin became anxious. They are afraid of Yuanxin and its recipients, afraid that the middle-aged man will lose sight and waste this great opportunity. For a moment, he was furious, and when he started moving, the movements became even more violent. Yuanxin gradually couldn't stop him and was punched in the chest, his steel-like body shooting like a meteor into a huge stone, shattering it into pieces. "Chase!" The besieger shouted loudly. Yuanxin spewed out a mouthful of blood and jumped out of the rubble in the next moment, with a fierce face. If he wanted to intercept again, it was already too late. The mountain rocks rose up early and chased out like lightning. "Run quickly!" Yuanxin turned his head and let out a loud shout, while exchanging injuries and knocking over one person. The next moment, he was surrounded by several others. Upon hearing Yuanxin's roar, Yuanxin hastily turned around and saw a light smoke-like figure chasing after him, causing a chill to rise in his heart. At this moment, the middle-aged boy said, "You shouldn't have appeared." Yuanxin remained silent, pulling him to run away with a heavy head. As they watched, a ravine-like abyss appeared in front of them. They had run to the western end of the rocky wasteland. Yuanxin let out a deep sigh and stopped at the edge of the abyss with the half-grown boy. The middle-aged boy looked up at him and said, "Why are you helping me?" Yuanxin turned around and watched as the figure fell 10 steps away. He laughed and then suddenly pushed the half-grown boy away. The person was hit by a fist-sized stone, and the figure flew off the cliff like a broken line. "I helped Yuanxin because he saved my life." Yuanxin's mind flashed with such a thought, his heart became calm, and then he lost consciousness. After an unknown amount of time, Yuanxin's consciousness slowly awakened like a sprouting seed. In the mist, he seemed to see countless towering figures swaying before him, as if there were many pairs of curious eyes staring at him. Suddenly, a warm current poured into his heart, and then exploded in an instant. At that moment, he seemed to see the scene of the Big Bang in the universe. So he suddenly woke up. Yuanxin suddenly sat up straight and looked around, seeing a chaotic scene around him. This is a misty world, shrouded in mist from all directions. But as he woke up, the fog around him dissipated at a speed visible to the naked eye and stopped 1,000 feet away. Only then did I realize that where I was, it was a milky white earth with no visible borders, like sheep fat and white jade, surrounded by some crystal-clear fragments. The larger ones had a significant curvature and were scattered like a broken egg. Jiang Shan's thoughts turned and he couldn't help but think to himself, eggshell. He picked up a fragment and squeezed it hard, feeling a huge force gathering on his fingers. At this moment, it seemed as if he could crush a mountain into powder. But the fragments remained motionless. Jiang Shan pondered and stood up, pinching the fragments. Then he discovered some strange things. His gaze seemed to be far from the ground. After a while, Jiang Shan suddenly realized, my line of sight is farther from the ground because I have grown taller. In a moment of thought, Jiang Shan summoned the personal attribute panel. Name: Jiang Shan. Age: 25. Race: congenital human race. Racial characteristics: unlimited growth. Bloodline skill: Rui in size. Realm: entering the Tao. Innate human infant. Skill: Wuqingxi stock trading. Wild survival. Tai Chi. 3/5. Skill point: 18. Time and space gate. 01.12.30.21. Looking at the additional items on the attribute panel, Jiang Shan took a deep breath at Shuyuan. www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Suddenly, he smiled and said, "It was a cliff fall adventure with me. Not only did I not die, but I also gained great benefits." Is this the treatment of the protagonist? The events that occurred on the edge of the abyss are still vividly remembered. He remembered clearly that when the person landed, he kicked a stone towards him and the half-grown boy, with the mentality of being a good person to the end, Jiang Shan pushed aside half of the young man and ate the stone raw. Although the person kicked the stone, it was obvious that they had not used all their strength, but Jiang Shan still remembers that moment. His chest was pierced by a stone, and the internal organs in his chest were instantly shaken into paste. This is a fatal injury. But in the end, the protagonist's treatment, living towards death, has brought great benefits here. Congenital human race. Infinite growth. Bloodline divine power. He is now a baby. Infants born in the human race. A baby who is 10 meters tall. A powerful baby. From then on, he was able to grow infinitely, growing to be indistinguishable from the towering figures looming before him in the hazy world. The size of the bloodline divine power must be the divine power that this innate human race must possess. With this divine power, he can freely switch between the innate human race's true form and the original form. Chapter 6. Giant. You are listening at novelfull.audio. For this adventure, Jiang Shan only had one word in his heart, which was strong. The innate human baby has a height of 10 meters and a very strong physique. With a single punch, it effortlessly produces a sonic boom, and every move and gesture seems to have infinite power. With a movement of the body, the air waves empty and surpass the speed of sound. Transparent both inside and outside, with a clear mind, as if heaven and earth are integrated, without any constraints. There are no weaknesses. At least Jiang Shan has not realized what weaknesses he currently has. Relatively speaking, he felt that his current strength may no longer be inferior to Yuanxin, perhaps even surpassing Yuanxin. There is a dreamy feeling. All of this came too abruptly. After discovering the extraordinary power of this world, he had a meticulous plan in his heart. He plans on how to interact with people in this world, how to obtain their own powerful methods, and then use the attribute panel to make himself stronger as well. Maybe we can still live forever. But now, he believes that as long as he guarantees food and drink, allows himself to grow safely, without the need to learn any methods, he can have immeasurable strength. This is incompatible with his plan. So, this damn opportunity, why did you come so suddenly? The height is a bit of a Versailles. However, the growth of the innate human race is not an easy task. Ordinary children can ensure growth by eating rice and meat, but the growth of the innate human race requires enough high-energy substances. Ordinary food and drink can only be said to not be hungry. So Yuanxin picked up the crystal-clear eggshell fragments scattered around him and swallowed them one by one. These fragments were extremely strong, and with his current strength, they could not be destroyed, but the stomach of the innate human race is extraordinary. As long as you eat it, no matter how strong it is, no matter how gold, silver, copper, or iron it is, it will be slowly digested sooner or later. Moreover, Yuanxin suspects that his transformation into an innate human race may be closely related to these eggshells. There may have been an egg before. The stomach of the innate human race not only has the ability to digest all substances, but also has huge space. Currently, it can hold food that is 10 times larger than its own volume. Yuanxin could clearly feel that there was a furnace-like dimensional space hidden in his stomach. This space will grow together with his growth. So the first thing to consider afterwards is eating. With such thoughts in mind, Yuanxin walked a long circle in this hazy land and found that he could not leave 1,000 feet away no matter what. It was then that he pondered how to leave here. Throughout his life, an invisible force pushed him, and as the earth spun around, Yuanxin's 10-meter-tall massive body suddenly appeared on the cliff at the edge of the abyss. The place where he had been hit and fallen by a stone before. Just as he saw the person who kicked the stones and smashed them at him, he stepped up and walked towards the half-grown boy who was lying on the side. Yuanxin didn't have time to ponder why this happened. Was what he experienced only for a moment? But it was already a perfect fit and a fist as big as a millstone hit from under the ribs. The strong wind blew away the waves and shook the mountain like thunder, with a loud explosion. The person had never expected such a situation to occur. When Yuanxin punched him, it instantly exploded into a mist of blood and hung. The half-grown boy stared blankly at the suddenly appearing giant and said, "Is that you?" Yuanxin grinned and revealed several white teeth larger than a person's fist, saying, "It's me." As he spoke, he grabbed the half-grown boy and put him on his shoulder. He looked up at the battlefield not far away, took big steps, and his huge feet trampled on the barren mountains and rocks. He took a few tens of meters and killed him like a meteor chasing the moon. This huge figure had already caught the attention of Yuanxin and those people. Seeing Yuanxin carrying half a big boy on his shoulder and fiercely killing him, the several people besieging Yuanxin quickly separated into two and met him with a fierce aura. These two people, one on the left and one on the right, flanked and attacked. One turned into a drill bit and directly attacked the lower plate of Yuanxin. A storm struck directly under Yuanxin's armpit. It seems that Yuanxin is tall and lacks agility. But they miscalculated. Yuanxin lightly jumped and his 10-meter-tall body lifted up lightly, avoiding those who were attacking his lower abdomen without hesitation. At the same time, he grabbed the palm, which was larger than his foot basin, like a mountain of 5 fingers, but with an extremely agile posture, he accurately grasped the person attacking his left rib, that is, the 5 fingers closed, squeezed, and exploded. At the same time, he kicked out and attacked his lower plate, but was avoided by the person who could not hit and then turned around to attack. He kicked him directly, and then burst into a mist of blood under his unparalleled strength. Between lightning and flint, they were torn apart by withering and decay. The remaining 3 people who were still besieging Yuanxin suddenly felt cold and without saying a word, turned around and left. The 3 of them split into 3 directions and managed to escape for over 100 meters with their breath. Yuanxin shouted loudly, "You can't teach them to get away from one person." As he spoke, he had already stared at one of them and chased after him. Yuanxin was not slow either. His massive body leapt forward and rushed towards the person closest to him, while also kicking out a huge rock and shooting a meteor in the direction of the third person. The fugitive's speed is fast, but Yuanxin's speed is even faster. His massive body not only did not become an obstacle to action, but also slowed down his speed, on the contrary, it is integrated with heaven and earth, and between running and jumping, the air seems to consciously avoid it without any resistance. With only a few leaps, he chased closer and hit the person's head with a punch. Like beating a mole rat, he smashed the person to the ground and turned it into a puddle of mud. One person was beaten to death, and Yuanxin's action was not stopped. He went to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com to transfer to a third person, and that person is about to escape from the barren mountain and rocky area, and is about to enter the forest. He kicked the stone first and was obviously avoided by a third person. But it's okay. As he was about to break into the mountains and forests, Yuanxin chased after him. How can that person resist Yuanxin amidst his panic? It's also a punch to the bill. After killing this person, Yuanxin stopped and watched. His ears quickly caught the movement coming from the direction where Yuanxin was chasing out, and he rushed over with his steps. Along the way, he ran recklessly, grinding a path through the forest until he reached a mountain stream where he saw Yuanxin gritting his teeth and twisting the person's head off. Yuanxin's massive body jumped down the mountain stream and walked up to Yuanxin, putting down the half-sized boy on his shoulder. Yuanxin smiled and threw away his head, leaning against a stone as he slowly sat down. "I remember you." He looked up at Yuanxin and said, "Ancestors bless you, have you awakened the bloodline of your ancestors? Giant bloodline, as soon as you awaken, you have a 3-zhang true body, rare and rare." Then his gaze fell on the half-grown boy, who looked at him and pursed his lips. Yuanxin took a deep breath and halfway through, coughed and blood spurted out of his mouth. He coughed several times before barely stopping. Then he calmly said, "I'm going to die." Then he asked Yuanxin, "What's your name?" Yuanxin, he said upon hearing the words, has the magical power of Rui in size, and his true body switches to his original body. Yuanxin. After Emperor Yan. Yuanxin smiled and said, "Great kindness is like a sea, and Yuanxin has no way to repay it. If it weren't for your help, I would have been poor today and would have died without closing my eyes." Yuanxin silently looked at him, shook his head, and said, "You saved me first. The kindness of saving my life is greater than heaven. I just wish I hadn't awakened my bloodline earlier." Update rule. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 6,000 words per day before listing, and 10,000 words per day after listing. Chapter 7. Pushing Mountains. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The innate strength of the human race is fully demonstrated in this devastating battle. Those people who could have killed him with a flick of their fingers before were punched and exploded by him without any resistance. As Yuanxin said, how good would it be if we could awaken our bloodline early on? But there is a sequence of causes and effects, and it is precisely because he was chased by someone called Shanyan to the edge of the abyss and knocked him down that he became an innate human race. His situation is not the awakening of blood that Yuanxin claimed. As a guest from a different world, where does he have any bloodline to speak of? Without being knocked down into the abyss, one cannot have this adventure. Without adventure, one cannot become an innate human race. Without the power of an innate human race, one cannot fight back. However, since Yuanxin said so, in order to conceal his identity as a traveler, Yuanxin pushed the boat along with the flow and regarded becoming an innate human race as a awakening of bloodline, which was just right. Of course, he did have such a regret in his heart. If he had had a chance encounter earlier, tonight would not have ended like this. Yuanxin would have died. Yuanxin saved his life. Even though Yuanxin himself claimed at the time that he was saved because he heard the soldiers of the Tang dynasty say that Yuanxin was a nobleman of Kunwa kingdom, saving his life in times of danger was a predetermined fact and would not be diverted for any reason. Yuanxin has a favorable impression of Yuanxin. Not only because of the grace of saving lives. Moreover, because Yuanxin opened his mouth and did not involve Yuanxin in the vortex, he was asked to leave. This can be said to be fair and upright. Some people, when facing danger, will subconsciously look for a shield to replace themselves in getting hurt. Using various means, such as moral kidnapping, deception, trickery, or hysteria. Yuanxin is obviously not such a person. He was chased by those hunting dogs with a half-year-old child and was in danger. When encountering someone who needs to be saved, I am willing to lend a helping hand even in a hurry, and don't use people as shields to deal with hunting dogs. Also, Yuanxin did not treat him as worthless due to his previous powerlessness, and was willing to explain and talk about danger to him. How can such a person not be honest and upright? If possible, Yuanxin would not want to see such a person die. But Yuanxin's injuries are too severe. Under the siege of many people, in a state of urgency, they fought against each other multiple times, and even their bodies, cast in copper and iron, were riddled with wounds and holes. He can persist until now and has killed an enemy, which is already strong enough. But he is about to die. In the extremely sensitive perception of Yuanxin, who has become an innate human race, Yuanxin's life is like a dying candle, faintly extinguished in the light. I know it shouldn't be, but I still want to ask you. Yuanxin whispered, Huangyu is the legitimate son of the great king. I bear a heavy burden, but I will stop before the finish line. If I die, I cannot rest in peace. Please help me send Prince Huangyu to Huangyu village. He reluctantly raised his hand, trembling as he handed Yuanxin a bead stained with blood, and looked at him with hopeful eyes. The road to Huangyu village is right inside, he said. Yuanxin looked at him and silently took the bead from his hand. Yuanxin grinned and muttered softly, buried in a mountain stream, surrounded by green mountains and flowing streams. Ancestors, I have returned to your embrace. Words do not fall, hands have drooped, and people have no vitality. The half-grown boy next to him, Huangyu, had already started to cry low. Huangyu is a prince, which Yuanxin expected. The target of those people's pursuit is Huangyu, not Yuanxin. Yuanxin is also the guard of the king he talks about, so Huangyu's identity must be very important. Unfortunately, Yuanxin was unable to reach the end and complete his task. Yuanxin looked at the smile on Yuanxin's face and his closed eyes, took a gentle breath, switched to the true form of the innate human race, and dug a pit next to Yuanxin's body, burying him. Yuanxin grabbed Huangyu and jumped up the cliff on one side of the mountain stream, putting him down. Then he looked around for a moment, bent his knees, and jumped across from him. Glancing at the towering 100-meter cliff in front of him, Yuanxin took a deep breath, took 2 steps back, let out a muffled roar, and pounced, his shoulders pounding fiercely like drumsticks on the cliff. The cliff cracked and cracks spread. Yuanxin let out his breath, took 2 steps back, let out a thunderous roar, and his massive body once again bombarded the rocky cliff. The 100-meter cliff couldn't hold on and collapsed with a loud bang. The rock cliff overturned and roared, completely burying the mountain stream. Yuanxin looked at the disappearing mountain stream and whispered, "May your soul return to your ancestors and enjoy eternal peace." The difference between the innate human race's true body and the original body is that the true body is suitable for combat and cultivation, the original body is suitable for daily life. Manifesting the innate human race, Yuanxin's perception becomes extremely sensitive, and heaven and earth seem to be one entity. This state is obviously suitable for practicing martial arts and fighting. Switch to the original body, the strength is not affected, and some strength will not be reduced because the original body is only 1.88 meters, but that feeling of being integrated with heaven and earth will disappear, as if separated by a layer of yarn, no longer clear, very hazy. He is really tall, even a baby can start at 10 meters. It can be foreseen that his true body will become increasingly tall in the future, standing at heights of 100 meters, 1,000 meters, and 10,000 meters, towering above the sky and earth. Such a large body is undoubtedly not suitable for daily activities. On the contrary, the original body is quite everyday. After burying Yuanxin and pushing down the cliff to submerge the mountain stream, Yuanxin returned to the barren mountain with Huangyu and rested in his cave for a night. The bead that Yuanxin gave him, Yuanxin had already learned its miraculous use from Huangyu's mouth. Zhaoshuyuan.com. It's actually very simple. Just place it in the sunlight, and the bead will project a map. The end of the route shown on the map is what Yuanxin called the entrance to Huangyu village. But this bead is not just as simple as a map. It is still the key to entering Huangyu village. Huangyu village is hidden in a secret realm. Without a key, the door cannot be touched. In the morning, under the sunshine, Yuanxin carefully looked at the map towards Huangyu village and found that Huangyu village was not far from the barren mountain where the cave was located in a straight line. Up to 50 miles. Huangyu told Yuanxin that in the past few days, Yuanxin has been circling around this area with him. Yuanxin is afraid of leading these people to the entrance of Huangyu village and exposing its existence, so I plan to take those hunting dogs in a circle to see if we can divide them and break them down one by one. Unfortunately, his plan fell through. Those people had no intention of being dispersed. On the contrary, he was caught at the foot of his horse and blocked in the barren mountain. If it weren't for Yuanxin's chance to counterattack, both he and Huangyu would undoubtedly have died. Yuanxin decided to set off immediately and go to Huangyu village to fulfill Yuanxin's dying wish. In the wilderness of the mountains, there was no need to worry. Yuanxin switched to the innate human race, which had grown 3 meters tall overnight, and placed the silent and depressed Huangyu on his shoulder. He taught Huangyu to hold his backpack and take big steps, following the map's guidance, straight towards the direction of Huangyu fortress. Yuanxin is now 13 meters tall, and it is precisely because the eggshell fragments stored in his stomach have been digested a bit. He is 1 zhang taller than when he fought last night, with stronger strength, stronger physique, and faster walking speed. 50 miles away, with his tall body and strong strength, he didn't need to detour or climb the mountain, just walked in a straight line. Even if it wasn't tight or slow, it only took 15 minutes to arrive. Chapter 8. Huangyu Village Secret Realm. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. 1,000 towering cliffs, a waterfall hanging over the curtain. The endpoint of the map is right here. To be precise, it is a deep pool formed by the impact of the waterfall over the years. Yuanxin shoulders Huangyu and stands on the cliff on one side of the deep pool, gazing at a giant beast at the edge of the pool below the cliff, creating a tense atmosphere. Yuanxin just arrived here, climbed up the cliff, and at a glance saw a giant beast drinking water by the pond. The giant beast also discovered Yuanxin at the first time. One person, one beast, their eyes colliding, and they all realized that the other person was not easy to provoke, forming a temporary standoff. This giant beast is over 5 zhang long, shaped like a leopard, with black stripes and red fur, and has 2 tails. It has twisted patterns on its face, highlighting its fierce facial features. After discovering Yuanxin, its body was full of evil energy and its aura was extremely fierce. Yuanxin had previously sensed something, but the aura he had previously sensed was not so fierce and domineering. First of all, it's not worth mentioning. After taking a photo, I realized that this beast is not easy to get along with, and there was a faint sense of crisis lingering in my heart. Zhangyi Mountain is devoid of grass and trees, with many greenyao plants and beasts. Its shape is like a red leopard, with 5 tails and 1 horn. Its sound is like striking a stone, and its name is ferocious. Sitting on Yuanxin's shoulder, Huangyu suddenly spoke up, "This is a ferocious beast, it has the ferocious bloodline of ancient divine beasts." A ferocious beast. Upon hearing this, Yuanxin's heart was moved. In fact, Yuanxin had already recognized this beast. It was on the first night of entering the mountain that he bent over a single tree and passed by the fierce beast under the tree in the middle of the night. In the state of the innate human race, his keen perception clearly distinguished the aura of this fierce beast, which was no different from the one passing under the tree that night. But it turned out to be a ferocious beast, having the ferocious bloodline of divine beasts. No wonder it's so fierce. But he is still an acquaintance. Under the fierce beast dwelling and above the Jiang Mountain dwelling, this beast gazed at Jiang Mountain for a moment, then shook its fur and slowly turned around Huan, repeatedly glancing at Jiang Mountain with an unintentional gaze, and making a dull clang sound like hitting a stone in its mouth. Yuanxin grinned, revealing his white teeth. Full-level wilderness survival skills tell him that this ferocious beast is carefully observing and testing him. If Yuanxin does not respond correctly, it is likely that a big war will follow. He said to Huangyu, "Cover your ears." Huangyu covered her ears with words. Yuanxin showed a fierce gaze and stared at the ferocious beast below for a moment, then opened his mouth and let out a huge roar. "Get lost." The sound is like thunder, the cliffs are rustling, the huge sound waves shook the rocks on both sides of the cliffs, causing even the waterfall to seem to have a momentary pause. The ferocious beast was startled, its furry ears suddenly covered up, its neck shrank, and its pale red fur and two tails stood up. Its pale yellow eyes showed a hint of fear, and then it roared a few times towards Yuanxin, leaping up and climbing a cliff several hundred meters high on the opposite side, and then a few ups and downs disappeared. Faced with fierce beasts, the first thing is not to back down. Retreat will make the beast feel bullied. And fierce beasts love to bully the weak with strength. If tigers can catch deer, they will definitely not catch bears. You must let it know that you are not easy to mess with. Knowing that you are not easy to provoke will give it a sense of retreat. Especially in the current situation, Yuanxin is not weaker than the ferocious beast. Although the ferocious beast can pose a threat to Yuanxin is confident in killing it. So direct intimidation is the simplest way. There's no need to fight, the Huangyu fortress is right in front of us. We'll be at our destination soon. Why bother growing more branches? It's meaningless. Seeing the ferocious beast leave, Yuanxin did not relax his guard. He leaped up, crossed hundreds of meters of mountain streams, jumped to the opposite cliff, and looked around. Sure enough, behind a large stone not far away, a ferocious beast peeked its head and brain. He glared fiercely at the ferocious beast again, then grabbed a stone and threw it like a shell. The ferocious beast had no chance again, dodged the stone thrown by Yuanxin, shook its tail, and left in frustration. Until the ferocious beast completely disappeared from perception, Yuanxin turned around and jumped down, walking to the edge of the deep pool. The deep pool is emerald green, like a huge jade with rippling patterns, but there are various sizes of jade scattered underwater. Can't help but say, is this the Zhangyi mountain where we are located? There are both Biao and ferocious beasts. Zhongyu on his shoulder whispered, there should be another by Fong bird. Upon hearing this, Yuanxin couldn't help but think of the huge black shadow that passed over the solitary tree that night. Zhangyi mountain chewing, Yuanxin switched to his original form, took out Yuanxin's bead, and casually threw it into the pool. The bead fell into the water, and immediately, a emerald light bloomed in the water. Then, a door slowly rose from the water surface. This scene is as if the scenery in the painting has stood up from the screen. Without further ado, Yuanxin grabbed Zhongyu and jumped into this door. Just a moment, grounded, a bead fell and Yuanxin caught it. Looking again, a manor appeared in the midst of the vast clouds and mist. He and Zhongyu are now standing at the entrance of the estate. Behind it was an endless milky white mist. Is this Huangyu village? Yuanxin looked at him and said. Zhongyu nodded and walked in first. It's better to say Yunxia village than Huangyu village. This is a manor, covered in clouds and clouds, surrounded by white mist. At a glance, the entire secret realm can be found at the book garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com, which is about 1,000 acres in size. The estate is relatively rudimentary, with a blue stone wall that is tall and rugged. There is only one wooden and stone building inside, occupying less than 1 acre, surrounded by dense vegetation. On one side of the building, there is a small lake of about 20 acres, in which a water column rises to the sky, resembling a spring. The lake is shrouded in mist, with faint traces of fish and turtles. Most importantly, there are no other people here. It's like a suburban farm that has been abandoned for decades. In front of the building, in the middle of a grassy courtyard, stands a pale yellow jade pillar with 8-sided prisms. I'm afraid this thing is the origin of the naming of Huangyu. I saw Huangyu walking up to the yellow jade pillar, which was over 10 meters high. With a faint sound in his mouth, he touched the pillar with his hand. Immediately, the pillar's radiance flowed and ripples bloomed in circles. As the ripples passed, the abandoned estate was completely transformed. The weeds have disappeared, and the dust and mud covering the ground have disappeared, revealing the clean floor paved with blue stones below. The building has also become brand new, just like it was newly built. Even the dense vegetation and forests around become regular, with clean and tidy paths in the forest, and even some flowers and trees blooming beautifully. On the surface of the lake, a rainbow bridge stands out even more, and against the backdrop of clouds and clouds, it can be said to be magnificent. Yuanxin couldn't help but secretly praise, then walked forward and handed the bead in his hand to Huangyu. This bead is both the key to Huangyu's stronghold, so I will return it to its original owner and give it back to you. Huangyu took the bead and looked at Yuanxin, hesitating for a moment. Do you want to leave? Yuanxin smiled and said, I have completed Yuanxin's instructions. Upon hearing these words, Huangyu's expression showed a hint of panic. After a moment of restraint, he said, Where can you go after leaving Huangyu's stronghold? Are you going back to that cave?